Looked inside 10 accounts this week so far, and it's Saturday. Coach, consultant, agency owner, all doing $20,000 to $50,000 every single month, and they just try ads, and they just can't seem to work. What's up? I'm RJ. If you're new around here, I drop a lot of free value over here on my channel. Okay, just here on for the good old YouTube. Okay, and so if you want to listen to me, you can. This is my results track record for our most recent clients here. More videos on all this, you can go check them out. But they're all different niches, different offers, different budgets. Everyone has its own unique everything, right? And so the 5 common reasons that you can't really scale past your ceiling right now, $20,000 to $50,000 every single bunch, is your acquisition is all manual. You're still doing cold outreach, and you're trying to scale. You're never gonna get there. Okay, plain and simple. Referrals, DMs, just your organic reach, right? And so if you're doing cold outreach and not cold outreach via paid ads, via organic as well, like you're never gonna get anywhere, right? And I wouldn't be surprised, or don't be surprised if you're not gonna scale that, right? And so you're the business. Okay, you're in every sales call. Every single aspect of the business revolves around you, and you are expecting to scale past where you are right now. That, what do you think the people scaling to 100K a month, to 200K, 300K a month? What are they doing? Do they have a team? Do they hire somebody to be their growth partner? The answer is yes. So you need systems. You need people to delegate, tasks. Typically, more than just a sales team, right? You don't have a funnel, or middle of the funnel, literally. Leads come in, hit a basic landing page. You don't have a good VSL, or if you're doing a webinar, those are the real basic ones. You can do like DMs, but you need a setter for that, right? You have no nurturing, no automations, no any sort of sequences, no emails, any sorts of things like that, right? If you are running ads, the people usually have good proof of concept, but after that, it's just like, what went wrong, right? It's just broken. Okay, they don't know the bottlenecks, they don't know the problems, they don't know how to fix it. It's usually like they always think it's the ads themselves, which I'd say 8 out of 10 times it's not, right? And then the 2 other times it's the ads, but once you get the ads, working, it's something after the ads, right? So it all leads to the same exact problem, right? And so your delivery isn't built to scale. And I was kind of just like going, about this in another video, right? Every new client is work. Onboarding is messy, delivery is just inconsistent, and signing one more client feels like adding a second job, right? You're just so busy. You haven't delegated anything besides maybe a sales team, and so or like editing or something like really common and obvious to do, but that's really it, right? And so in order to get more clients, you need to delegate these tasks, because it's impossible to get to $50,000 to $100,000 or more and really scale past your ceiling to doing the same exact thing. And it's kind of selfish to think that doing the same thing is going to get you the different results. It's really not, right? And number 5, you're optimizing the wrong thing. My favorite one, the most common one out of all the audits we do, all the calls we do. You keep tweaking your offer, posting more content, or trying to get better at closing, and so you don't even have a system, right? And you're fixing all the different things, like your organic or the ads, or your messaging, or like you need better testimonials, better offer, your pricing's off, you know what I mean? So with all the people that come on the calls, like number 1 and number 5 are the most common, at least for us. And so they try ads, right? And they really, ads are the simplest way and the most common way to scale, right, past where you are right now, and really just in general, obviously, because everyone does them. Okay, that's pretty obvious. So number 1 and number 5, they always lead to ads, and this is what we always look at when we hop on our calls, right? The spend versus results, and what they're optimizing for. Really, is it like a schedule, application fill out, a purchase, just things of that nature, just a regular lead. Hopefully you don't have an opt-in page if you're doing any sort of funnel, right? What the creatives actually look like, that messaging, what they're wearing, the environment, who's actually making the creatives, the editing, there's things like that, right? Where the traffic is going, right? This is everything after that. Okay, that matters a lot, right? Almost more importantly than the ad itself, So we like to break it down in 3 separate systems, or parts, right? Entirety of our full stack scaling system. This is what we do for our clients, and so in another video I broke it down. Go check that out. And so, right, we have the traffic source, right, and then our first problem, right? Wrong people entering the funnel, right? This is our messaging, this is our creatives, right? And so everything matters, And what do I mean by that? It's pretty broad, right? And so like me right now, right? If I'm in an ad, I'm wearing this T-shirt, I'm talking to you in a certain way, I'm, my background, you can see Hormozi's books back there, right? Um, it all matters, okay? It like if I like I'm a dude, probably attract more dudes than girls, right? And how I talk, and like if you have a girl, it's controversial who attracts more, right? You know what I mean? So if I'm wearing glasses, if I'm not wearing glasses, if I'm talking a certain way, if I'm talking with higher intellect or lower intellect, like more like a college student, more not like a college student, right? And so it's all portrayed inside Meta and who like specifically targets, right? And who showed in front of you, especially with the Jomno, obviously, with that update, right? And so the hook doesn't filter out broke leads, messaging too broad, targeting to everyone, or it's really just not converting anybody, right? And so the messaging needs to be on point, okay? And so we find this a lot, right? Your creative is your targeting. Just speak to the one person that is inside your niche, right? With specific pains that they're going through, right? It's the entire niche that's going through it, but act like you're talking to one person, right? And so when you're going through this part, ads to the funnel, just worry about the ads, get proof of concept, right? And so like if your ads are getting a lot of people to the page, okay, that doesn't mean they're necessarily working, but you are getting traffic, you are getting somewhere, right? And so you got to worry about what the steps are after that, and that's where we get to the next step. Here, I'll show you in a second, right? Are they filling out the application? Are they watching the VSL video? Okay, if they're watching the VSL video, why aren't they filling out the application, right? And if they're filling out the application, why aren't they booking a call, right? You got to look at it in multiple different steps, right? And so they are the CTA, right? And then they you get a lead, right? They get a call, get offer, get a close or a pitch, right? And so like between these two steps, it's it's pretty important to have like sequencing and nurturing, and your closers and setters are a huge part of the team, especially the setter, right? It's like my most important position in my organization right now. So lead clicks to ad, hit a basic page, maybe book a call, maybe fill out the application, or just just go their separate ways, right? So you may not even have a VSL, but usually people do, right? No follow-up sequence, so pre-call nurture. The ad did its job, relatively so, right? The ad is supposed to get people to your funnel or wherever you want to send them, right? Whether it's a follower ad or a DM ad, you name it, okay? Or lead magnet, opt-in page for that, opt-in page for a webinar. Everything after that needs to be dialed. And if it's not dialed, it's never going to work, right? It's never going to be ads fault, okay? Just fix the VSL, fix, your nurturing systems, your applications. It's once you know what it is, it's like relatively easy and simple to fix it, right? I should say it's more simple. And the harder part is dialing it in, right? Because it's probably never going to work the first time. And so after you do fix it, you have to, reiterate and test multiple times, test. And so a good framework to test ads with is right here. Like this is one of them we use for all of our clients here. Like we filter out like between 10 different ones. But this is like the main general one. So you can use this in organic and in ads, right? We got a hook, call out your specific audience, your ICP, right? More specific, call out, explain it a little bit more, and then your official CTA to do whatever that you want them to do, like book a call, right? Then you put in some results, then you put in a benefit, be like, okay, yeah, and then add in more results, social proof, one that relates to your ICP the most, obviously. Another benefit, another CTA. What do they get out of clicking to book a call, right? And so back to the nurturing, like when somebody books a call, like between the call and the offer, right? And when they get on the phone with your team or with yourself, right? You need a sales process, right? And so like I have numerous videos on my page. Go check them out. They're way more in depth on this, but like it's 4 core pieces plus closure best practices, right? And so the setter has to contact the lead within 5 minutes, or like as soon as possible, less than that. They have to talk correctly. They have to, the setter is the most important part in the entire nurturing steps of the process, right? Because they set the frame, right? They build that initial relationship with that lead, and they represent your company, your organization, right? They're the first actual person they talk to, right? And it's very, it's insanely important, right? And then the closer, right? We got closer best practices we like to teach over here, but back on the nurturing. So you have value dense emails, SMS, and retargeting ads. You can retarget people, whichever step that you really want to, right? After they filled out the application, if they didn't book, after they booked the call is more popular, right? And so if they booked a call, usually we hit them with retargeting ads, a lot of content, so they're fresh in their brain, right? And you could put whatever information you want in front of them until they call, right? That's kind of what the job is of the emails and kind of the SMS. But you're supposed to get them to know, like, and trust you, right? Especially with cold traffic. Like with organic, it's you just build that trust over time, right? And so you have a 48-hour period or less with cold traffic, right? And so don't book. You're not supposed to be booking calls out for a week, like week out, right? And so like you right now, no, you're not doing that, right? Because you don't have enough volume for that. But then you're supposed to close them for a high ticket ask price, right? And so how are you supposed to get them to know, like, and trust you if you have nothing in between when they book a call and when they show up, right? Or even like one of these, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make much sense, and you wonder why like your show up rates are bad and your close rates are bad, right? You don't need better sales practice. You need a system in place to nurture them and like get them to know, like, and trust you, right? And so it's quite simple to understand. The nitty gritty stuff and how to make these it's more in depth, right? And so like that's pretty much problem number two. Like you don't have a middle of the funnel, and it's insanely important to have all three, obviously. And so number three would be the onboarding process, right? A lot of people come on these calls, but it's not so much likely, like they don't have a good close rate and they don't do anything with their leads that they don't close, which is crazy, right? And so like when you get an objection and it leads to a no close, like money, or I need to think about it, or I need to talk to the wife, or I need to talk to my fishbowl, so whatever they want to say, right? And you don't overcome that objection and they just hop off the call, right? Do you have your sales team contact them? Are you contacting them like 2 days out, like next day, more than that? Or you have a automated win back sequence, right? Do you have something like that, built around the exact objections that that person gave on the phone call, where you weren't able to collect that PIF or even put them on a payment plan, right? And so it's just all part of the puzzle, right? It's all part of the bottleneck game. And so let's go over those bottlenecks real quick. You know what I mean? So like a lot of people come on the call. The problem number one that I see a lot of people go through, right? Let's just imagine this is like water, right? This is a big ass pipe, okay? And like we said, wrong people are entering the funnel, okay? And let's just say the pipe is your funnel, okay? And so you want blue to come through. That's your ICP, right? Equals ICP. But you're getting these red people in, right? And hopefully you have something in your application that blocks them off so they can't book a call. Hopefully you do. But if you don't, you're going to get all these red people on the phone with you, right? Which you don't want that, right? So you have your ads up front. This is your traffic, T, and we'll put ads. Bear with me, it's great handwriting. But yeah, so you have your ads for the first bottleneck, right? And so if you get people going through them, you're going to get more water, okay? You're going to get the right people on the phone. You're going to start to make sales. But if you have, your nurturing, your landing page, right, is bad, right? Or your nurturing is bad, right? Let's go back to problem number two. You have no middle of the funnel, okay? Like no follow-up sequence, no pre-call nurture. You're getting people through, but you're not, getting them scheduled in, or they're not filling out the application, right? Or they're just not showing up to the call, okay? And so like, let's go over it again, right? So let's just say this is your call, and you're getting the right people through, but they're hitting this right here. Let's just say like you have a 50% show rate for easy math, right? So you're getting 1 out of 2 people to show up. Why is that, right? You have to go into this little step right here. See why. Are you okay? Are you okay? Look at the application. If your qualifications are they have to be making, $5K a month, or, to afford your services, right? And you're getting a lot of people that don't make that much money. Okay, there's your answer. You have to go back up here, right, and hit the messaging. Be like, okay, why are we getting so many people that are unqualified? It's probably the messaging inside your ads or inside your VSO. Okay, now that's just one example of many different examples that I could give you. Okay, and so it's very, very simple just to block the bottlenecks, right? And so here we'll put this as the call. So we'll look at number 3 now. No follow-up after the call, right? This is when you fix all your pipeline and your funnel, and you're getting people through to the call, okay? And so you're not having a lot of people be closed on that call, right? Because that's where you get a lot of your PIFs, a lot of your revenue, obviously. And so if they're going somewhere else off the call, do you have somewhere or something, somebody, right? You're nurturing your setter, your closer, you contacting these leads and getting them back on the phone so you can get the PIF, you can get the money, right? So it's really just, puzzles. You know what I mean? It's figuring out what part of this entire pipeline do people get stuck at, right? Usually, if you're getting a lot of unqualified people on the phone call, you don't have a lot of friction on your application. You're just going to be sending everyone there. It's usually your messaging, right? If you're getting decent amount of people, qualified through and booking calls, you're not getting a lot of show ups. You have to look what's between, when they book a call to when they show up, right? It's right here, right? And so there's a few other things in this, but like I said, in other videos, definitely go way more in depth on this, right? Confirmation page best practices, English, right? Confirmation page, setter, closer, contacting your leads if they do qualify, right? Your value dense emails, how frequently are you sending your emails, right? Are you sending SMS text messages? Are your ads actually going? Are you able to do retargeting ads for people who book a call, right? And so it's very, very important, all of this just makes sense to you and really put into detail into your head, right? And so it's a process. And so if you just run ads, you're just not running ads. It's this entire system right here. And, each bottleneck comes at different points. You know what I mean? You can have a bottleneck, for the messaging, right? Could be right here for the traffic, or your CTA could be bad, right? Or between the CTA and the call could be the application, or your funnel looks like absolute, it could be terrible, right? Your VSL could be 40 minutes long when your ICP resonates with a 5-minute VSL with telling them price and be like, oh, $5,000 for this? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? But you wouldn't never know that unless you don't test, unless you don't do bottleneck analysis on your own funnel, almost daily, right? You need to be looking at the data and go off of the data to determine what to do next, right? And so if you like this video, just go drop it a like. I produce 2 videos a week. Hope it was value to you. If you want something like this done for you, you want to hop an auto call to really figure out your bottlenecks, problems, or issues, and want steps to really determine how to fix it, or you want us to work with you one-on-one, just go down below, book a call, and I'll be happy to work with you if you're qualified, everything like that. So I'll see you on the other side.